Alright, let me know if you guys can see the stream. Should be a delay of about 10 seconds. Perfect.
I see it.
Alright, very good.
No.
That would be the echo, so go ahead and mute your headphones or speakers.
Yeah, mute the TeamSpeak so...
Yeah, because then you'll hear through the stream and it'll match in time. Alright, so first thing that I'm doing as a caller, and since I'm in command here, is I've got this set up. Now, if I was going to take a Type 64, and I was going to be the primary scout for the team, then I need to transfer the permissions of the artillery strike to somebody else. So, in this case, I'm going to do it to somebody that I trust. So that would be me transferring permissions over to Red Wolf or somebody of that nature. But I'm not going to play Type 64 since I already have somebody else in it, so I'm going to grab my 3485M. So let's talk about our composition. Even before we go into the battle, as a caller, you're looking at this composition. Generally, there's two ways to call. You can either say, hey, I need this kind of composition, or you can work with what you're given. So in the case of the build that we have here, it's pretty typical for a fast boy build. The two exceptions to the rule right now is the 3001P and the Dicker Max. It's not that the 3001P isn't fast. 3001P is fast. It just takes a long time for it to get there. Its acceleration is not going to be keeping up with the Type 64, the Rudy, or the 3485Ms. It's going to lag behind.
It's faster than the Rudy.
Slightly slower than the 85M.
No, it's faster.
It is?
Once it
Yes.
gets up to speed.
It has better horsepower-ton ratio too.
That being said, then you've got the Dicker Max. Dicker Max is incredibly slow. You're looking at these attributes. It's great for coming over a ridge, though. It shows so very little when it does it. And
it also has incredible view range at tier 6.
Yep, incredible view range and incredible camo. It's a scary thing in the night.
14.11 camera regime.
And
Camera rating while firing
will bump you.
without my
So that being
100%
said, that's the
crew.
first thing you're looking at. Now, let's cover some ground rules. As a caller, it is expected that you will provide positive feedback and that you will provide things that people need to work on. However, due to past incidences, nobody wants to get yelled at here. Let's provide criticism in a positive fashion instead of what the way things used to be with previous callers where people really didn't want to be around it. So that is what I expect of my callers, is that they will conduct themselves professionally and provide the positive as well as provide the negative, but do it in a fashion that is still
the positives, being able to say, do you need help? Ask them if you know they need help. This, you know.
I believe the word you're looking for, Lange, is recrimination.
Yeah, we're not
We don't really
we're
need
not
that.
putting anybody on trial here.
Yeah.
So keep it positive and always be open to suggestions, because as a caller, you're always going to continue to be learning, because meta changes over time. Meta tanks change over time. You have to adjust to it. So even callers make mistakes. So own your mistakes and look to improve. Always be moving forward. So I'm pretty happy with this build. We can work with it. So I'm probably going to be putting that Dicker Max for base defense. Probably pair him with a 3485M. And then Type 64 is going to be dedicated scout, and then we'll disperse accordingly. So there are a couple of functions for the artillery strike. It can be great for breaking that key tank. So for example, on mines, you have the Alpha 5 hill and the J4, J5 back section on the south spawn. If there are tank destroyers back there, Arty can be used to break the tank destroyers. It can also be used for reset purposes. So immediately going and busting Arty out is not always a good idea. You got to kind of read the situation. So let's take a look at the enemy composition. A bunch of Cromwells, 3485Ms. Their view range isn't that good. Type 64 can outspot the Cromwell Bs, so I'm going to be taking advantage of my Type 64. I'm expecting he's going to stay alive. I'm going to send him up to a high point where he can spot them as they cut across over here. I'm going to be setting the Dicker Max over here on that hill where he can shoot across over into this area here, and a couple of shots as they go up. I'm having the 3485Ms, 3001Ps. You guys are starting up the hill this way. Meta is for a brawl on the hill and shots and tanks across this way. The other thing that you will see on this map is you'll see a 1-2 line push where tanks will come down through this southern side. Now, usually they will send a scout down on the low section down through here if they're going to do that. Otherwise, they usually send their scout up here, or they'll just do a straight out rush up to the top of the hill. Now, let's talk about tank advantage. Tank advantage for the 3485Ms is armor. They can still bounce some shots from the Cromwells decently. Alright guys, we're going to be watching that Type 64 and make sure that as we go, if something presents itself, we pound it. So I'm holding on to artillery. That was a 1-2 line push. Back to base, back to base, back to base. Dicker Max is in a good position for shots. Type 64, I need you to redirect down into the forest. Keep those guys lit. Start pounding on those guys. Shoot the ones on cap. 3485M on cap. We need resets, most. Nice resets, nice resets. Now, in the cap situation, there's multiple tanks. You reset the one that has cap points, then you reset the other. It invalidates cap. I'm dropping the artillery strike over on the tanks that are using cover, trying to get them out. I got one of them out. Good artillery strike. Arty strikes don't always hit quite where you put them. Nice focus fire on the 3485M at 85 hit points. Good kill, good kill. Cromwell B, 322. Low health targets are priority. Get that Cromwell dead. One more shot, 149. Next batch of lights there, Type 64. Cromwell's up. See if we can get him dead. 149 Crom. Nice kill. Either one of the Croms. Let's go for the one closest. 750, 566, 35. Nice focus fire. Nice kill. Alright, Type, go ahead, push in on the Crom. Rudy's 3045M, start pushing. Work that Cromwell on the left as we're moving in towards the one on the right. Nice. Alright, 382 Cromwell. That's the last one. Let's get him. Nicely done, gents. Nicely done. Alright, so let's talk.
I want to check the Dicker Max body damage after that.
Let's talk about what went well. The positioning of the Dicker Max was really good. He never got spotted. He had shots for days on that 1-2 push. When they do a push like that, if they go on to cap us out, then they are sitting out in the open for the most part, and it's about getting the lights, having your tanks further back, getting the resets. Once they've lost the cap point advantage, they really just get farmed. There's no advantage.
Question.
They go down tanks. Yeah, go ahead.
You use artillery on that tank, even though like you had the clear advantage on tier 6.
Yeah.
Are you aware that like it costs more
On the resources?
resources?
Yes.
Yeah, for the artillery strike on tier 6 than like you gain actually from it?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Are you stressed about using it?
Not really. The reason being is because we make enough resources, we still have a positive income even though I used it at tier 6. And it's more about demonstration purposes on weeding out the difficult tanks. So that tank was holed up in cover, and I wanted him out because of the fact that he was going to be difficult for everybody else to get shots on, and I wanted a overmatch.
Okay. So what about higher tiers? Now, higher tiers, it's another story. Like, you gain more out of it. So if you clearly win the game, would you be more prompt to just launch it like in the middle of nowhere just to get more points out of it?
Yeah, if you've got a clear advantage like that, then yes, I would very likely send it out into the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
It's one of those things, just like, I mean, even normal arty, I mean, time and a place, and I mean, it's all about timing, and
The bottom line is I'm forever going to be looking to up my advantage.
I have a question about spotting. When I'm driving a light in a pub on that battlefield, I actually have a lot of luck sending that scout into the north part of the field, halfway in, heading, and then ducking towards the lake, dropping over the ridge. And I mean, I can light up a lot of shit, and I never see that in strongholds.
The reason
And
being,
I'm just kind of curious.
the reason for that is that people know the terrain better in the strongholds. You're not talking about the same level of player that you run into in pubbies. So some of those pubby players aren't concerned about cover, aren't concerned about getting lit. They're just concerned, hey, there's going to be a battle on the hill. I want damage. They're going to go zip up there. I don't want to go on the hill. That's a dumb place for me to be, whether it is or not. So they're going to head elsewhere. And it's not until somebody gets spotted or they get spotted that they become concerned with, oh, I just got spotted. I'm getting shot at. That wasn't a good idea. The forethought isn't there. For example, on Prohovorka, when I have Hazars playing Scout for me, I have him set up for a specific run across the train tracks. Why? Because the amount of time it takes him to get across the train tracks, he'll beat them across those train tracks. He will spot them as they go across the back of those train tracks. And at that point, I know whether they're going to be on the hill on the left side of the map if we're on a south side spawn, or if they're going to be on the right side of the map closer to the middle of the field or down the 1-2 line. So what you're seeing from scouts in strongholds is a much cleaner application. They have specific routes and areas that they are concerned with because it dictates the battle. If they go up that 9-0 line up onto that hill, I'm going to have a strat, and I'm going to respond to that in a particular fashion. Now, if they go 1-2, I'm going to respond to it in a different fashion. But that information and that intel I'm getting from that scout tells me and allows me to be able to predict what that enemy team is going to do. So, by using those points like Prohovorka, and even those points like we did on the hill, the minute that I saw one of those Cromwells, I knew that we needed to call back down to get resets. I knew it was going to be a fast cap down the 1-2 line. Which is why I called for it as quickly as I did.
you gotta be fluid. I mean, you can't hesitate, and I mean, that's what I always messed up in. I mean, the second he saw that, crop crumbles, I mean, he said back to base. I mean, there was no hesitation, no nothing, I mean...
So, does that answer your question there, PDX? It's a complicated answer, but hopefully it gives you what you're looking for. Dragon.
You went to get damn like
No, let me turn my
processing.
mic. Let me turn my mic on. Yeah, it's quicker to get across that north field, but yeah, you do get a little better view if you go up to the Magic Bush, which is where you usually send the scouts.
Now let's.
Can we bring up a map so we can visualize it? I have a hard time visualizing all these coordinates and stuff.
No,
No, we could bring up the map tactics.
Yeah, I
and then
gotta
we can put it on
admit, I'm a
stream and then.
visual person too. I gotta
having
see
a hard
things.
time.
Alright, just a minute.
Like the what
Like
tactic maps or whatever you.
Yeah, just a minute.
I mean, not, played out first elementary level, but I mean, just the basics on a map. I mean, just giving us the image.
So, let's talk about Prohovorka. since that is a over-exaggerated example, but it's a true example. So by having a light tank make a run, let's say he starts here. By having him take this course,
And we're looking at Watt tactics right now, right?
yes. By having him take this course, what he's going to end up spotting, and you can watch this through the stream, what ends up happening when he does the spot is he's making this course here. Him coming up here on the ridge is going to spot anything in these bowls, with the exception of the very far back over here in the Kilo 2, Kilo 3. He probably won't spot that. There's too much camo value going on back here. But that's not really important. For the initial spots on a map like Pro Hovorka, what is important is to see, are they going to be running around in here and playing this section? Are they playing this section? Are they playing this section of the map? And I'm going to deal with it accordingly. Or are they playing a combination of the two? So this run through here gets me the spots, and I can see if they're starting to head over this way or if they're starting to head over this way. That way I can set up my tanks to deal with it. But that is that early intel. When he comes across these train tracks over to here, he will get the spots on these guys over here, and I instantly know. That's within 30 seconds of the start of the game that I know what's going on. And that gives me a lot of time to get tanks sent down the 1-2 line, sent around over here, trying to get tanks up on the hill, getting tanks distributed here, getting tanks set up here on the ridgeline here, and a couple spread over here, making my combinations that way. Or it allows me to say, depending on the composition, everybody up and over, we play one of the bowls, and we take these guys out in a brawl. We stay down low in the bowls and nullify this spot over here until we're ready to go deal with it and work the isolation. Does that make sense? Does that explain the routes?
Yeah, and that's definitely, you can see how valuable that is, obviously from either north or south.
Yes, and it works from either side. It just, the important part of it is having a person who is doing the scouting. I trust his ours. He knows what he's doing in that scout tank. I know that he's going to surf this ridge and get the spots through until he's ready to hop the train tracks, or he's going to do it just right depending on the circumstances, and then he's going to drop down and go for another pass over here, lighting this stuff over here. He will read his circumstances and flex and scout with the circumstances.
Never hurts to keep an eye on what Hussars is doing in a battle.
Yeah.
General education.
The other place that's really big for scouts on this map, this is a little off topic, but these bushes up here are the other big scouting places. If I have 2 scouts, I will play it differently. I will have one be inactive, and I will have the other set up over here on the 1-2 line, making sure that, okay, we can see a push coming from about Bravo 1 pretty easily. Or we can see a push coming from J1 pretty easily. And then it gives us time to react. It means either I have time to get my tanks back over in here, using this bend in the road for cover, so that I can draw them into the fire and farm them as they come out across this open area, or I can get my scout out of there, I can get everybody back across, we can push over here, make them come out in the open across this way, while working here for angles. So the scouts and the routes that they go are done for specific reasons. With that, I'll go ahead and take us back into the detachment. So go ahead and set your sound settings back once you have finished listening to that on the stream, unless you are one of the callers in training.
For anybody who's interested, if you want a more in-depth breakdown of how to play a light tank and where some really strong places to put a light tank, I can always help out whenever you need.
Yeah, so the one thing that I will add to that is keep in mind that playing a light tank in pubbies versus a light tank in strongholds is a little bit different.
Understatement, but
Some of the mechanics, like if you're playing an active scout and avoiding particular enemy tanks and getting spotted, trying to outspot people, that is something that transfers. Some of your brawling doesn't transfer. You tend to not be able to be very aggressive and towards the end of the battle in a public match, whereas in a stronghold, if there's a medium blitz, light tanks can get in there and be just as aggressive as the mediums.
Yeah, I'll need to brush up the meta strats on like different maps, because some maps I just don't know what they are.
Right.
But we can work it out later. Not today, like maybe like another day.
Right. With that, I'll go ahead and fire off another round, and we'll talk a little bit more. Alright, looking at the composition, ARL 44, KV85s, M6s, those are still fast heavies, but they're still going to separate out from the 3485M and the 3485 and the Type 64. These guys want to brawl. We cannot brawl with that composition. We are better to set up and try and catch these guys at a distance, farm them, and then keep distance between us. Now, that makes it so that we have a priority target. The priority target is the Type 64. He has all the view range for these guys. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get our Dicker Max set up on the ridge, and we're going to spread the 3485Ms along the ridge as well. Cromwells and the Rudies and myself are going to be working out here on this corner, making sure that there's not a push. Type 64, you're working the middle, try and make sure that you stay alive. Now, process of elimination says if we have 3485Ms on the 8-9 and a Type 64 scouting the middle, if they're not here, they're on the 1-2 and they're making a push. Unless the Type 64 finds tanks and it looks like a turtle. That'll just be a bunch of stationary tanks hanging out in the back. But it's not really looking that way yet. Turtle. Type 64, that's probably a little too far forward. If they poke up on that ridge, you have a long amount of time to get back to cover, and you could potentially be dead, depending on if they HE it. Alright, so at this point, I'm thinking it's a 1-2 line push. We haven't seen anything. You should be able to work the ridge and then suck back in.
I wouldn't trust it at this point.
As Lange, I have 450 meters free range if you need me as a secondary scout.
User joined
Roger.
the channel.
Alright, so Rudy's 3485Ms, we're going to start swinging around up over this way. That's going to be everybody. Dicker Max is going to be playing the corner here. Oh, look. Hello, Type 64. So, that case, it's the turtle. ARL in the back, that is definitely a turtle. Get out of there, Type.
Working on it.
So, remember how we were talking about tanks and them being in the back and needing to break them? Those heavies are sitting still, and we need to get them out of the back. That's our biggest problem, is that stuff back behind the train tracks. So that's a worthy arty target, especially to get a heavy tank out. ARL has a nasty gun, so I chose him over a KV-85, because KV-85 has no armor, and his gun isn't as good.
Depression.
No gun depression, so he has to be careful about peeking. Alright, Rudy's 3485Ms. We're going to be cautious about our route in. We're going to go low, try not to get spotted by the Type 64. Dicker Max, I'm going to have you keep working this ridgeline because you can be invisible and get away with it. And you've got that fantastic, amazing gun depression. Type 64, stay over on the left-hand side. Don't be overly aggressive where you're trading all your health away. Alright, so... Dragon, you're going to come with me. We're going to hug this right-hand side. There's a little dip that we can get into over here.
Shoot the type.
Yes, we murdered the
think
type,
anyone's-
and their eyes are gone. They're blind. We farm them. Type 64 is still priority target. Something else to note is that Type 64 has no armor open turret. HE shells are incredibly effective on Type 64s.
And they have incredibly thin armor.
So I don't often say switch to HE ammo, but if you are going to take on a Type 64, switch to HE ammo. Focus the
Alright, I
type,
see.
nice shots. He's out, good, view range is gone. Now that frees us up. We're gonna go dark here for the people who got lit by the Type 64, so that way we can come around the corner. KV-85 is gonna get distracted by some other targets here. And then Dragon and I are concerned with echeloning here so that we can both fire out of the same location. Alright, I need the Rudies and I need the Crumbs and I need everybody to group up over here. Now, what I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to set us up for a push to get across the train tracks. We can brawl with these guys at this point. We have a 2-tank advantage, M6 is 292, and 574 on the KV-85. That gives us a pretty even hit point. We just have to focus down the low health targets, and everybody has to move in together. So, Angelus, I'm going to need you over here. Type 64, oh, M6 is crossing. Get him dead as he crosses.
Will go. No, he's just getting ready for me. M6 out in the open.
Alright, once I have the Cromwell here, we push across. We get the KV-85 dead first. Alright, start the push. Alright, lead tanks have to drive around the KV-85, make him spin.
Ready to fire. We didn't even scratch them. One of our tracks is damaged.
One more shot.
Enemy armor is hit.
Alright, next target, 3045M.
Ready to fire.
Keep on driving, keep the momentum going.
Where did they go? Ready to fire.
175. 175, get that medium, nice. Drive into the KV-85, do not cross the train tracks, we're isolating the M6. Push the KV-85,
I
keep
got
the
the
momentum
M6.
going. Well done, well done. Nice push, guys. Nice momentum and keeping it. And the focus fire, on point. Excellent. I really don't have many critiques for that. The only critiques...
Slanch, are we gonna do advances?
Maybe later, but not right now since I'm going through the caller training.
Okay.
Any critiques I had, I already addressed in game, like being careful with scouts and how far forward we go. That's just something small. But we flexed. We made effective use of the terrain. We used that pocket to get in as close as we could, so we weren't crossing open spaces, giving them an opportunity to drain a lot of our health. If you get a lot of health drained like that on an open field and a push, it can halt your capability to be able to push across like that. The fact that we maintained our health like we did allowed us to be able to take the hit, get in, DPM them to death, and drop them, and it made it a 7-1.
And the fact that they turtled very terribly. They allowed me to farm 11,000 off them before we even went in.
I'm curious as to why choosing, why you prioritized ARL over the 85s for
The alpha from the gun of the ARL is a lot more than the KV-85.
And
Oh,
it has
really?
good hull
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
And against
Yeah.
your guys' guns, good turret
Yes.
armor.
It was the scarier of the tanks. And it was being stationary just as much as the KV-85. If you give me a scary stationary target, I'm going to kill it.
Oh yeah.
But there's also the gun depression. KV-85 behind the tracks is very ineffective, whereas the M6 and the ARL will be very
Yes.
effective.
Yeah, good points.
These are all things you have to be keeping in mind as a caller. One of the things that I like to do is I like to ask people comments, jokes, suggestions, things that could have gone better. I try and keep it a very open format. Whether it's in here or somebody needs to pull me aside and talk to me separately, I expect my callers to also be very open. You don't have to use my exact verbatim verbiage, but if somebody wants to talk to you, I want you to talk to them.
Something that could have gone better is I missed 5 shots, so there's that.
That sounds like a personal problem.
It does. I would have had a lot more damage.
But if it makes you feel better, I will have a talk with RNG.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of them were my fault. Not exactly used to the shell velocity on this tank.
Alright.
Well, forgive me for pushing out too far, but I figured if I hadn't found them yet, that they were going to either be down in a ditch in the bottom left corner, or they were going to be turtled up.
Oh, yeah, and Slange,
That's what I
sorry
thought,
for
too.
splitting off and going with Stud there. I saw that he was having to push forward and pull back and doing a shoot and scoot back thing, so I figured me getting into the bush would give him permanent view range and allow him to shoot.
Dicker
from
Max
about
doesn't need
500
anybody's
feet.
spot for it. It has...
Went to stationary.
That's 440 or on it or something
Already.
like that.
Alright,
Yeah,
battle
already.
comes. So, let's take a look at this composition. 2 Type 64s, that's fast. Achilles, that's campy. And an M44, also campy. So, I'm expecting a camp out of this. They might move the Cromwell Bs and the 3485Ms somewhere in a fast fashion, but I don't expect them to get too far away from their cover. That being said, there's 2 ways we can go about this. We can go into the Abbey and take the Abbey, shoot through any windows if they push here, or we can push the 2-3 line. The likelihood is that there will be a tank destroyer down on the low road, or the tank destroyer will be back here. So we're going to go ahead and go for the 2-3 line push, keep it tight, keep it together. We should be able to overmatch. And just remember, there's 2 Type 64s. Be paying attention, be ready to swap to HE rounds should they give us that opportunity. Do not take the low road, go high. The reason I'm saying that is because of the tank destroyer possibility in the back. It also isolates any tanks down on the low road because it takes them time to get up there. If we have a good push, we keep it together. Red, you're not so much functioning as a scout, you're playing more as a medium, so stick with the mediums. Otherwise, we have potential for trickle in, and we don't want that. They may go for a fast cap. If they go for the fast cap, Dicker Max, I'm going to have you hold here, watching the windows. Because Dicker Max doesn't really brawl. Alright, very campy. Very campy. Type 64 would have spotted anything in the Abbey as we push past the windows. So I know that there's not really anything hiding there. Aha!
Up there,
Alright, that's probably the fast boys. So back to base, guys.
Well, Type 64 in the middle.
Alright, they're putting 3 on cap. That's the fast cap force. I'm going to drop it on the stationaries so I can get the resets. That's what I really care about right now, is the resets.
Also used Hardy Strike on me.
Roger. We need some resets, gents. 1 shot into him gets us a reset. Nice. Alright, 3045M lost at the 544. We need the next shot. Excellent. Finish off the Crom. One more shot on the Crom. Nice shot. 3045M, 351. Get him dead.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
So I'll finish off the 1-shot Type 64. Oh, never mind.
Alright, so let's talk about what happened. They didn't really use their Achilles, and they certainly didn't use the RD. They kind of faked us out there.
They did
No,
use
no,
the
no, I'm
RD
talking
on
about
me.
the M44.
User disconnected
Yeah,
from your channel.
no, there was an RD. I got hit by the M44.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the RD Strike.
And Splash Me too.
One of the things that happened there is that they used the fast boys to get across. I was expecting with the tank destroyer that they were going to be doing a 1-2 push rather than a 8-9 push. So part of that goes on me as the
They would
caller
never
for the
push 1-2
prediction.
with that.
2, they broke meta. And it worked for them. They put a fast cap. We were trying to be aggressive. They sent enough tanks around that they got on fast enough that we couldn't reset it fast enough. We were doing nice focus fire, a nice job on the resets. But they still played it very well.
So when they cap like that, it's not about like how, like, what's the focus fire to kill tanks to remove the guns, but the amount of points that they gain, the points that they have left.
Did you notice that I shifted the targets? I said that 3485M got hit, so I shifted him onto the Cromwell. I shifted him on. I did.
And then like the clock was ticking. I was seeing. I don't know if you
there was
know,
a third tank on
there.
There
Was a third tank that we didn't see, that we did not put shots in, so we couldn't get a full reset.
And then you wanted that Cromwell
Yes,
down.
because we couldn't get the other ones.
And it was like 2 seconds left, and at that point it was really a matter of like what tank had the amounts of point that was missing.
Right, but by reducing the numbers of people on cap, it reduces the rate at which they're gaining. So it would have slowed down the clock enough where we could have potentially gotten that spot by getting those other 2 tanks dead, where we could get a tank in there.
Not saying that I would have done it better. I'm just saying that's
right, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this was my reasoning. This is why I was doing that. We're training. Caller training. Caller training is gonna trump at this point.
If there's anybody in here who wants to cycle in and get into the action on this tier 6, just let me know. I can cycle out for you.
Yeah, I can cycle out too.
Probably doing some, maybe even advanced later though.
They're 10v10s.
We love the 10v10s.
Get like 8-9 battles in them.
We love the 10v10s.
That's good color training right there. You just throw
yeah, it's just like throwing
yes,
shit out of hand.
But hopefully for my callers, this is giving you a good idea of what you need to be watching for. I'll probably do 1, maybe 2 more, and then probably call that good for caller training. The rest tends to come out of experience and just understanding mechanics. Be paying attention to mechanics of armor for heavy tanks. Be paying attention to gun depression and the gun depression of your tanks. Be paying attention to spotting capability of your tanks. And terrain itself. I've got a bowl over here. This is a great example of terrain. That south side down there, that entire K-line, if you red line that K-line all the way to the red, you can cross it with only a couple of exposed areas. We have a replay that I used for training purposes to demonstrate that. So what we're going to do here, meta is a 2-3 line push. We're going to go down 8-9. Type 64 is going to do a quick run up on top of the hill, drop down, and come back just to see if they're doing that 2-3 line push. Everybody else is going to get set up over here. There's a corner we could work, put shots and cover the Type 64 if they come after him. Amex 12 ton, you're going to get set up on top of this ridge here, and you're going to go passive. and then we'll know whether they're coming 8-9 or whether they're going 2-3. So far, it's just the scout. That doesn't necessarily mean they're pushing on that side. I tend to believe it's just a scout, considering he got spotted and he went away. Alright, Type 64 down in the south. They're feeling us out, trying to find us. Angelus, did you get spotted?
Avoid knocking trees over.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
So I understand their light tanks are trying to anti-scout right now. They're stopping to take shots.
I want us to be concealed. I don't want them to find the main force until we know a bit more information about what they're doing.
They found Buddy, right?
No, they found Angelus.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought you said you got spotted.
It would be probably helpful for the caller to know if you know a quick shout out.
Yes, I need to know that.
In the chat.
Press the help button.
Alright, there's Poodle. They're over on the left-hand side. Get out of there, Type 64. Alright, guys, we can work this ridge here and put shots in the Poodle. And the Type 64. We're going to try and get that Type 64 dead. So, what that means is that we're going to leave a couple of our tanks here. I'm going to send the Dickermax down onto the south, along with the Rudy. Yes,
Wait, south?
I need to get multiple angles on these guys. The reason being is they're not being very aggressive. So I'm expecting them to camp down in the back on the bottom of that hill.
Yeah, I think they're all setting up right down in here.
Yep,
And
that's
probably
the
below
typical
that
camp.
ridge,
It's K1 and then that ridge up there at Gulf. Shots on the Type 64.
Or what we're doing.
Was not spotted.
Rudy,
But
I
do
need
you
you
have
to
a
start
mod
heading south.
to tell you when people's
Exclaim. Alright, red line it. 12 ton.
You get lit? Okay.
That is 64 still
Alright,
there.
3485Ms. We're going to come a little bit further up on the ridge here. We're going to work the right-hand side of the road. The right-hand side of this road here, slash the north side, up by Delta 7, will give us some cover that we can work with. We do have to be careful about getting shot from that hill, but we don't want to advance too far. This way we can still come up and we can put shots down on the south side. If that Type 64 is down on the south side spotting out the AMX 12 ton and the Rudy, we need to help those guys and get it dead. We can use the buildings to do that. Can you do some spots over here on this side? Try and get the Type 64 or the Poodle lit. 3045Ms will cover you, Red.
I'll do my best.
I can't get an angle from there.
Roger.
Rudy spotted.
Dickermax spotted. Dickermax might die.
Alright, there's the Poodle.
Already strike.
No.
Type 64 looks like he's about to
Right.
anti-scout
Go ahead
me.
and get out of there.
Yep, he's balls to the wall on me.
Alright, AMX 12 ton in on the
Yeah,
Type
we can kill him
64,
then.
3485Ms. He's separated out. We're gonna go kill him. Alright, it's gonna turn into a brawl in here. Get that Type 64 dead. We need to drop some guns out of this fight. That was a good ram on their part. 460 Cromwell. 254 Cromwell.
Bail out. This vehicle has had it.
They flexed really nicely. It didn't take long for them to realize how many tanks we had over there, and then they moved up into the north really fast. That was really good on their part.
Big turtle. Don't see that much.
No, especially with that build, you don't normally see that.
Well, they kind of have to when we go forest. I personally like taking this mill section and then sending some tanks down here, so if they're sitting in these areas, you can just go over the ridge and kill them and spot them back here still pretty easily. And if they go forward, you just put someone on cab and bring it back and send them through an open field. I really don't like forest on this map. It, like, 90% doesn't work. Or it puts you at a disadvantage. It can work more often.
Yeah, they want to kill, especially considering one of their guys went for a -1. He killed one of his teammates.
In all honesty, I gotta say it is pretty scumbaggish that they were camping the entire time with a fast build.
Well,
no, I gotta admit,
they did a really good job on looking where.
I mean, they totally faked us out with the turtle lane. As soon as we hit, I mean, they picked the weak spot.
Oh, and they redirected, and everybody redirected. There was very little gap for once they rejoined their forces. Everybody was there. They used their mobility quite well. They just wanted to feel us out. They were waiting for.
And they were pretty much luring us
our main forces and where we were going to commit. That's waiting for intel is not a bad thing. Type 64 on your left, see if you can get him dead, Clam.
Your HE does 300 damage, FYI.
Cycling out, so if any one of the people listening want to get in.
Type 64 is not going to give it to you. He's going to come in after the fray has already been. M4A2 is quick. So, as you guys can tell, I'm learning about that M4A2 and its characteristics.
The M4A2 is really similar to the Cromwell B, except it's a little bit slower, has about the same acceleration, has like the same fire rate, especially the fire rate that's really deadly about it. Like,
that was just a crappy EZ8.
No, it's not. Like, it has like it goes really fast. It's really similar to the Cromwell B in that manner, but it has no armor at all. So it stands tall and has the same like fast firing speed as Cromwell B, but the issue with it is the
no
armor
Artie, please, Angelus. Not for a tier 6.
Sorry, I did fight.
It's actually slower than the EZ8. It only has 12 horsepower to ton ratio. And it has the same armor as the EZ8. And worse gun depression. Same DPM and same gun characteristics, except it has less gun depression. So it's just a crappy EZ8.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll grab a Type 64, it's all good.
You want me to?
And I shouldn't say that it would be no eyes. We'd have to use the Dicker Max's eyes, but that makes us a very passive team.
If you want me to go switch to
fine,
something
you
faster
fucking
or like tank, I can. Okay, I'm crying up a crew still.
User joined your channel.
What?
You're putting the numbers out in the Dicker, so...
Sorry.
Other than the 2 maps that I got already.
So sometimes it's important to be able to delegate artillery, because as you will see here, playing a Type 64 and working arty can be very difficult.
My favorite is when I'm playing arty in like tier 8 and using the arty strike.
Double artillery just...
This will probably be the last one that I stream, and then I'll go ahead and open it up.
You're right. To tier 8. So mates.
Well, I'm probably going to go make dinner real quick, and then I think there's an 8 o'clock hour advance. I would like to try and at least get one advance in. But it would be a good opportunity for the callers in training to get their feet wet with some more 6s or 8s. Alright, they've got a fast boy build. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do some initial spots over here. I need my Dicker Max getting set up on the hill, get ready for shots across here. I need a couple of my tanks getting up into the high ground up here. And the rest are going to be shooting across from over here into that area there. They may possibly go south side, but we'll know pretty quickly if they do. If they do go south side, we reposition a little bit. It tends to be fairly open on the south. It's a good place to just shoot them up. There they go. Put the shots in. Oh. Alright, they're going to flex around north and hard with the Cromwells, so we've got 2 forces to deal with. That being said, we're going to get... Yeesh. Alright, we're going to get set up here. I'm going to go relight those Cromwells. We need to be ready to shoot them out in the north. We need to make them the priority target. We can hide down in the low from the 3485Ms and not worry about getting shot by them. We need to hold the ground though. We can't give it up. We just need to put the shots in the Cromwells. He's being fairly stationary. I'm going to drop it on the Cromwell. That's the part of the force that we need to get out. Alright, Cromwell B at 750s out in the open, heading up into the north.
We got company.
He's stuck in that channel. He's a good tank to farm.
That Type 64 is working
Roger.
through a G5 area.
Alright, we're going to push the 3485Ms because they are isolating themselves from the Cromwell Bs. We need to do it fast, and we need to do it together. Dragon, did you get tracked? Angelus, hold. You're waiting for the other 2. Alright, go. We have to do this now before those Cromwell Bs get down here. Focus him down. Get him dead. 94. Thank you. Next 3045M. Get him dead. Oh, shit. Push, 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 push. Not you, Scooter. You are low on the hit points.
Target unlocked. Ready to fire. We didn't penetrate their armor.
Type 64 behind.
Enemy armor is hit. Penetration
Alright, push the type.
Enemy vehicle destroyed. Target acquired.
Whee! That works. Alright, so we had a little bit of sloppy driving and getting zeroed in and focused on what we were doing, but the push was good, it was fast. Cromwell's didn't have enough time to react before we killed the 3485M. Type 64 was also out of the fight for a time, enough where his DPM wasn't able to make a difference. Now, once we got in, then we pushed over the top, took the Type 64 out again. Type 64 then went into the bottom, we came back and we killed him and finished him off. I wasn't going to have a good time with that 3485M from the front, because he was low health, so I drove around, I spun his turret, my buddies were able to deal with the other guy, and made it a 2v1 with the Cromwell that was further ahead. So that was fairly effective. We just need to pay a little bit better attention to where we're driving.
I like that isolation. Like whenever I play, that's what I try to look for. The isolation, like what players,
yes.
what tanks are isolated, so that you can flex on them. It's better like to actually kill
it's an
those
overmatch.
tanks and have like some easy kills, than yeah, it's an overmatch, but it's a
yes.
dynamic overmatch. Like you see it, you act on it. It's not like boom, they happen in front of you. Like it's not magically happening. You tell.
Yes,
that
you do need to see that.
But you need to see that. If you're able to see it, you're able to act on it. And now, that's another thing to actually be able to make them.
Well,
think
and that's why I've done.
Isolation.
I have a video of it. I have a isolation training video that I did, talking about tanks and isolating. Because one of the things that you're working as a caller is you are working with these guys and going, okay, look, this is not a puppy battle. This is not a, you have to be as conservative with your health. You have to understand that your health is serving a different function of that of a puppy. In a puppy, your health is your own. Team wins, great. But there is so much scrub, for lack of a better term, that sometimes in a puppy it is better for you to conserve your health and then screw the rest. You might be able to carry that battle. But in a Stronghold, or an Advance, or Clan Wars, your health functions differently. Your health functions, I need to take a hit to keep somebody else alive so I can keep the DPM.
Yeah, but that isolation can actually work in your favor.
Give me a minute, I'm getting there. It's a long explanation.
Like an artillery...
So when you have that isolation like that, it's a, okay, get over the fear, the push has been called, you instantaneously need to go in. What you need to be checking is you need to be checking, am I a one-shot? Yes, then I should not be leading this charge. I can still be effective in this isolation and pushing around in. However, somebody has to eat the hit for me so I can get in there. So you try and stagger yourself, and it's expected, having gone through this training, not so much the color training, but the overmatch and the isolation and those mechanics that we try and teach and train our players, that's going to be programmed in your head and that you're going to do that yourself. I will remind people, and you'll see me remind people, hey, you know, you're low health, let somebody else go. You don't need to be leading that charge. I appreciate your enthusiasm for the push, but you can't be the first one in.
And don't be afraid that if you're in the lead of the charge and you take, you know, if you realize you're getting targeted and you take hits seriously, don't, you know, be afraid of, you know, to pull back initially and let, you know, the other tanks that are still full health get in front of you.
I was going elsewhere about that isolation thing that I was trying to say. The prime example that I was gonna give is the Abbey that you guys played like a few matches ago. So they put two tanks in isolation, the artillery and the tank destroyer.
We never spotted them.
Yeah, I think we did because we never saw that. But they used all the other tanks.
Yes.
And you guys were overextended at that point when they came on cap. So that isolation that they did was in their favor.
Oh, okay.
And that's where I was going with it. Like the isolation can actually play play with you. Like you can use your own tank to isolate them, but you also need to watch for like tanks that you don't want to isolate, like those two 485s that were actually isolated from the Cromwell Bees and Cromwells, and you were able to actually use that isolation against them.
But anyways, so that's color training. There's a lot of concepts. I know that I haven't touched them all. I only hit what was presented, but the way that I conducted myself tonight as far as things that could have gone better and giving people positives, things that they need to work on. Be positive. Make it an environment that people want to play. They will be patient with you, and you need to be patient with them. Because calling is a skill that you have to develop. It's not something you instantaneously just have it. Some people are better at it than others, but they still started from square one and they built themselves up. Some people just are quicker on the pickup than others. Thank you everybody for your assistance here in making this happen, and I'm going to go make some dinner and then I'll be back and hopefully we'll get an advance going here.
User joined your channel.
Feel free to contact me if you have any questions, comments, suggestions. Also, as far as it's going to be a shrimp stir fry.
Only about like 2 hours away. I'll be there in 2 hours.
But if you have any requests for training, any suggestions for the format, anything like that, feel free to come talk to me.
Okay, thanks so much.